How soon should the Pirates trade Paul Skeens? We are live now on the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined as always by FanSided's MLB Insider Robert Murray. We are not going to be tackling that all-important question today, but we are going to start with our focus being on the NL Central because I think it perfectly embodies how nuts this deadline is poised to be, what the wild card additions to the postseason have done to the deadline and the way that we discuss it. But most importantly, every team is in the exact same spot, and some of them are going to have to be buyers, some have to be sellers, maybe they just all buy and everyone goes for it. And who the hell knows? But here to tell me a little bit about it, give us some updates on the latest rumors, and help carry us to the end of the show, at which point I will be getting on a plane and going to Viva Italia and leaving you in very capable hands while I'm gone, is FanSided's MLB Insider, Robert Murray. Robert, how you doing, man?
I am just lovely. I had a brief scare before the stream today. The fire alarm in my apartment complex went off, and my ears are still ringing. I can hear it in my ears. Not great, but thankfully the alarm is not going off anymore. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. Also, can confidently, it's looking good. We're going to have a very special guest on Thursday. So that's pretty exciting. Nothing official, but it's trending that way. Adam Weinrib, how are you, good sir?
I am doing great. Bummed to miss the guest, but none of the rest of you will be. It's going to be great. In the meantime, one last DraftKings ad read before I hop on a plane, go overseas, eat some pasta, carbonara, and pizza. What's up, baseball fans? Yeah, you. DraftKings is offering a fantastic sign-up bonus for new users. New customers can place a $5 first bet on any sport to instantly claim $150 in bonus bets when you sign up with our code Baseball Insider. The best part is you'll receive your rewards even if your first bet loses. Using our code Baseball Insider not only gets you these bonuses, but it also directly supports our podcast. If you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code Baseball Insider to maximize your first bets. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. And join us in the Discord if you're not already there. As always, see some Discorders showing up early in the comments. We love to see it. Had our all-star specific Zoom midway through last week. Going to have another one in a couple weeks when I do get back from Rome, Florence, a villa in Toscana, as the maestro once said in Seinfeld. We'll see you all again in a couple of weeks. But for now, join the Discord, ask us questions between shows. It'll be the only place you'll be able to talk to me as long as my data plan allows for the roaming that I anticipate that it will for the next week and a half or so before I'm back on the show. Robert, recommend the Discord? 10 out of 10? 11 out of 10?
15 out of 10. It's a very good community. I will definitely be dropping plenty of rumors going forward in there. Dropped the Jake Woodford minor league deal in there before was reported. Well, at least before I reported. Chris Cotillo said it was likely. I mentioned in the Discord that it was a minor league deal. But anyways, the tips are only going to get juicier from there. So I could not recommend more joining the Discord, where you can also own Jacob Zanola, who just called it a 2 out of 10, which, yeah, he's not good. By the way, obviously, Burner, I will have a Rays mention in here, so we love that. Always a good thing.
Yeah, and again, did I learn a lot about VTubers while I was out there? When I have to do the math to carry the two, no, I learned absolutely nothing about VTubers. I'd like to at some point. Not kidding, but not this weekend. Too much going on this weekend. Couldn't do it.
No, you had a lot going on. He was with the Oakland A's and the Toronto Blue Jays, and noticing Chris Bassett putting dirt in his pocket. I mean, he's ahead of the game. We love that.
Yeah,
you'll be sad, obviously, Burner.
Talk to John Schneider a little bit, who I'm glad he didn't know who I was because I have not been the kindest to that man on the good old internet. I talked to Chris Bassett, good dude, very emotional about pitching in Oakland for almost definitely the final time. Picked up some dirt from the mound. I went to a soccer doubleheader on Saturday. The Oakland Soul and the Oakland Roots. I just found out the Roots had a record-setting attendance, almost 7,000 at this old college soccer stadium up 20 minutes outside of Oakland. You could tell the vibes were immaculate. I had a great time. Then, yes, I do have only 3 days between going to Oakland and going to the country of Italy, which is kind of absolutely absurd. If you maybe nobody else should do that, but I did it, and here we are. Let's talk rumors. In the last couple of shows, we have tried to figure out, which NL Central team is going to be the one that sells. Right. We had the Cardinals. We were sending Ryan Helsley to the Orioles. We're all doing our due diligence, trying to figure out how exactly they're going to balance this hybrid model. Then we're talking about the Cubs as sure buyers. The Cubs and Pete Alonso, the Cubs and Vlad Jr. Like, how do we get the Cubs the big bat they need? 1 week after I started to question, hey, maybe the Reds are the team that sells. They rode a 7-game winning streak and passed the Cubs on Saturday for second place, but then they flip-flopped again, and now they're tied. The Pirates are in last by a hair, but are we sure they aren't buying? I mean, how many NL Central teams honestly feel like sellers to you right now?
It's a great question. NL Central teams as sellers, right now I'd say zero. I know that might be a controversial answer, but it shouldn't be. I mean, if you look at it, Brewers definitely not going to sell. The 38-27 in first place rather comfortably. They're going to be buying. Cincinnati Reds have surged recently, won 8 of their last 10, and they're in second place now. Cubs, I mean, they're still 32-34. Cardinals, I mean, you look at them, I mean, they're not that inspiring of a group. I think they're a team that could definitely kind of tumble and become the conversation could get a little bit louder for them to sell. Then you have the Pirates who are bringing up the rear, but they have a very intriguing 1-2 punch in that rotation that could make them pretty difficult out in the postseason. And they're only a half game back in the division, or from the wild card spot, I should say. So like, they absolutely should not be thinking sell right now, especially with how they viewed this as their first season of real like playoff contention in pretty recent memory here. So if they're close, I think they should buy. I mean, I think adding another bullpen piece, adding some more pop to the offense, or even considering an upgrade at first base. I know Canyon is going to agree with that, especially considering Rowdy Tellez's struggles there. But I think they should be in. I think they should be in buy mode. So I'm currently, if the trade deadline was right now, which spoiler alert, it's not. Nope. But if it was right now, I think all these teams would be rather like buying or standing pat, as opposed to selling. And I'm going to guess it probably stays that way unless one of these teams really collapses. And if that's the case, that team I'm watching is the Cardinals. I think they're the most likely collapse team of this bunch, but we shall see.
And they don't quite have enough momentum and juice to really justify buying at this point, and maybe should still be selling at this juncture, even with their current record and standing. But we'll address that when we get closer to the deadline. I mean, yes, thank goodness the deadline isn't now. If it was, I'd be making a huge mistake going to Italy. But instead, as it stands, I'm just having a normal, nice vacation, and people do that in the summer sometimes. But I do feel like that, the NL Central is just so indicative of where we are in the game right now. In terms of entering mid-April, we knew the White Sox and Marlins were going to sell. We knew the A's were going to sell. They're all still open for business. Who have we added since then as we enter mid-June? The Mets, that laundry list of potential David Stearns selling options leaked about a week ago. That makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't feel declarative. Maybe the Rockies, if anybody wants anyone from that bin, Elias Diaz, Jalen Beeks. The Angels are moving closer to becoming sellers. And you gave a little head nod last time when I was like, might they be interested in selling people who are controllable beyond 1 year? You were giving a little like, maybe like an eye twitch of some kind. So I put those teams in the conversation, but are you getting sure seller vibes from anybody else other than just the most obvious teams from 2 months ago?
I wouldn't say sure sellers at this point. I think there's very few of those at this point. But I think there's a couple teams that should be watching, or that we should be watching here, that could end up trending towards sellers and could end up being really interesting options here. And it's the first one I'm looking at is the Tampa Bay Rays. I think they're a team that right now is on the fence. And if they do end up becoming sellers, I mean, they're going to have plenty of different options here, but one of the names that I'm going to be watching is Jason Adam. Adam has been one of the better relievers since he ended up coming over from as a free agent. Because I remember he was with the Cubs. He was with a bunch of different teams. He was a journeyman reliever who really didn't make an impression. But there was always some people, especially on the analytics side, who thought that there was a lot of upside with him. He went to Tampa Bay and immediately broke out. He's controllable yet. He's signed for pretty cheap. And if he is moved, I do think I think a team to watch there might be the Kansas City Royals. He's got a history with J.J. Picollo, the GM in Kansas City. And I think considering their need for a late inning reliever, I think that would make a lot of sense. Another team that would make sense to me as a potential seller, and this one is a real kind of, if you would ask me this at the World Series last year, I would have been like, nah, there's no way they're going to be selling possibly only a few months later. But the Arizona Diamondbacks, they are under 500 right now. They have a bunch of different intriguing options. Christian Walker, Paul Sewald, and then what the heck do they do with Jordan Montgomery here? He struggled this year. You try to trade him before his vesting option potentially vests. That's a part of this equation that I don't think is being talked about a lot. If it has, maybe I've missed it. But I think those are three of the names that could be rather interesting and talked about at the deadline here. Obviously, neither team is committed to buying or selling. We're still, 6 weeks, if not more, away from that. So, I mean, we got plenty of ball game left here before these teams have to make a decision. But I think those two teams are really intriguing and bear watching, especially as the trade deadline gets closer here.
Yeah, we are pretty close to seeing if a player like Jason Adam is going to get the boot. Also shaped like a boot, the great nation of Italy. Let's hit that over-under drink. I think the Paul Sewald, I know Passan sort of gave a little head nod and a hat tip at some Mariners radio folks were like, Passan was like, the Mariners and Diamondbacks seem to match up well. You guys realize that? And the radio guys were like, Paul Sewald an option? He was like, Paul Sewald could be an option. Like, I wouldn't call it a rumor, but it was just a nice reminder. Like, hey, there are teams that have good relationships. One of those teams is currently leading the AL West. One of those teams is currently floundering at the bottom of the NL West in a way they didn't anticipate. There's a closer with ties to the city that harbors a better team right now. Can't rule it out, even though it would be pretty ironic if the Mariners neutered their chances 1 year by trading away Paul Sewald and then increased their chances of competing shortly thereafter by just bringing him back and getting the momentum in the opposite direction. I love the Diamondbacks. I think we're going to be scouting them pretty extensively in the coming weeks. Good thoughts, shouts from the comment section, all about Luis Robert, because we've talked about him on previous episodes. I think the one nugget that I maybe missed prepping for this episode was the discussion that the White Sox, if they are going to trade him, are looking for a Juan Soto trade like haul. And we're not talking about the second one where it was just a bunch of Yankees pitching depth. We're talking about that first one, which potentially transformed the Washington Nationals' entire future, giving them James Wood, giving them upper Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, upper echelon talent. If that's the White Sox ask, I think that everybody asking if Robert Jr. is a Padre or a Philly yet is probably going to be deleting those comments soon, because that's not that just the Juan Soto is the only person the Juan Soto package should have been reserved for, and it worked. The Nationals in good shape, but I don't see Luis Robert as the same kind of guy.
No, me neither. I mean, Luis Robert's very good. Don't get me wrong, but
very good.
Yeah, but he's not Juan Soto. There's not many Juan Sotos. I mean, basically, if you think about top tier talent, it's Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and who else are we putting in that category? I wouldn't put Luis Robert at that point. I mean, he's very good, but he's not the kind of guy that should be commanding that kind of haul. He's still going to get plenty in return for the White Sox if they do trade him, but if they're going to be asking for a Juan Soto type package, then I can't imagine that he's going to end up getting moved. Mookie Betts is a good shout. Very good. Like, I can't believe I forgot Mookie Betts. That's actually kind of embarrassing. My apologies.
Profar, good
has been good. Yeah, I'll tell you, the Jurickson Profar thing was fascinating, because in the offseason, before he ended up signing with the Padres, there was a few other teams that were interested in Profar, and they offered him more money. And he ended up going back to the Padres because he viewed that as a better opportunity for consistent playing time and thought that he could end up making a difference with more playing time. And ultimately, so far, that's worked out. So it's been a pretty good move by Profar and also AJ Preller. So shout out to those two guys for that. But what I was going to say here about Luis Robert, one more point here, is we're still 6 to 7 weeks away from the deadline here. So the asking prices are going to be very high, and the asking prices for Luis Robert, very high. The asking prices for Taylor Ward and Joe Adell, also very high, as Jeff Passan of ESPN reported. The asking prices for a lot of these guys are very high, and there's going to be very little activity as far as trades actually being completed because of that. The prices are going to come down as the deadline gets closer. That's just what happens every year. And then we're going to end up having some action because, as always, deadlines spur action. But yeah, it's just the asking prices now are very high. I would imagine the White Sox's ask for Luis Robert comes down. Does a trade end up happening? I mean, maybe. I mean, there's always a shot, but I wouldn't rule it out. But the asking price has to come down quite a bit for that. And if they're going to ask for a Juan Soto trade package, it ain't going to happen.
Deadlines do spur action. Sources, everyone who watched last MLB offseason without a deadline and with no action. Shout out again to Jerks and Profar. Like, if for anybody who's already filled out your all-star ballot, I'm sure you found it to be very difficult to find names to put in the NL outfield. Jerks and Profar jumps off the map. It's crazy. And he was had for a song this year, coming off the worst year of his career. So good on him. He should be a starting member of the NL outfield at this summer's All-Star game. And that game will be played in Texas, where Chris Young orchestrated a World Series championship last year, built a title-winning roster on the backs of several stars, and is currently not extended beyond this year. There was a comment from the owner after extension talks in recent weeks, but nothing finalized yet. Do you anticipate the Texas Rangers getting a deal done here with their architect?
That I believe they ultimately will, but the owner said, and I quote, this is from Ray Davis, the Rangers' owner, "While there is no final resolution at this time, we will continue to work towards it coming to an agreement. Chris Young and I agreed that our immediate focus is on the 2024 season and defending our title." So translation, kind of seems like he's saying that it's going to go on the back burner here and that they're probably going to end up focusing on that after the season is over. So I would not expect, based on the owner's comments, anything imminent. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I think ultimately in the end, he will stay in Texas because, I mean, obviously they won a World Series with him leading the organization in the front office, but also they've invested a lot of resources in him. Like they hired him away from Major League Baseball, and they fired John Daniels, who is a very highly respected executive, and put Chris Young atop that organization. By moving on from Daniels and then potentially like they just can't move on from Chris Young. So I think an extension will get done, but it just might take a little bit longer than some people are hoping for. So I guess the key phrase here, stay patient, Texas Rangers fans.
Stay patient and also keep soaking in the fact that you won the World Series last year. That was a pretty big moment for everybody. So I think Chris Young benefits everybody if he returns, and he's obviously already shown the ability to build a champion. Not everybody has. He's done that. Vlad Jr., again, going to get mentioned on every show we do until the deadline. But this weekend specifically, it was the Cubs-related nugget. Again, we keep sending big bats to the Chicago Cubs. Even though the Cubs and Blue Jays basically have the same record, we're still sending big offensive pieces to the Chicago Cubs. And we're rebuilding the Blue Jays. Okay, I see you. I hear you. But you have made it a point, everyone who's asked in the past 24 hours about the Vlad Cubs connection, just because there is a connection, this is not a world of forest fires where if there is smoke, there is definitely fire. In this instance, every single baseball team has a modicum of smoke, and very few of them create fire. So I just want you on the record here talking about what it means that this has been an internal conversation in Chicago.
Yeah. This is going to be a conversation we're going to have the next 7 weeks. Like
this Ross will not stop. This will not stop.
No. So Ross Atkins is on the record in saying that it would not make sense for them to trade Vlad Jr. or Bo Bichette. Like obviously things can change. We saw what happened with Juan Soto a couple of years ago, where the Nationals said they weren't going to trade him, and all of a sudden, a couple of months later, they traded him. So, I mean, there's always a possibility for that, but I don't anticipate him being traded. I think the Blue Jays still want to compete in 2025, and the best chance of doing so is with Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette. That being said, though, there was a report that the Cubs have internally discussed trading for Vlad Jr. I'll tell you, that to me is not news. News would be them not internally discussing it, because teams have to discuss these things. I mean, if there's the Blue Jays potentially selling, then you have to at least explore what it would take to get Vlad Jr. and what you'd be willing to give up. So I would not get your hopes up if I was a Cubs fan. I would not get your hopes up if I was a team of any of the other 29 teams in baseball. Just because, like, I don't anticipate Vlad Jr. being traded, but I think the fit between the Vlad Jr. and the Cubs makes sense, especially since I think they could use another hitter for sure. But the internally discussing, like, we shouldn't be, like, that shouldn't be reported. I saw that and I just was like, geez. But yeah, don't get your hopes up is what I'm trying to say here, because I don't think it's going to happen.
Just trying to get that deadline ball rolling, I guess. And that deadline ball, of course, is a meatball, which they serve in Italy. I think we just hit the 4.5 over. If not, I'll try another one later. Mark Powell wants to know if the Pirates are discussing a Vlad Jr. move. Internally, yes, I believe that they are. I'm gonna big man you on that one. I think they are.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble with Pirates Twitter again, so I'm not even touching this one.
No, we're not. If there's one Twitter we're not touching, it's Pirates Twitter.
No, because I mean, goodness me, but Pirates Twitter, that's not gonna. He's not going to. Oh, I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying anything. I'm not getting in trouble with Pirates Twitter again, because they still remind me of the Aroldis Chapman thing.
The Pirates will not be DFAing Aroldis Chapman to trade for Vlad Jr. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Mark Paul, who is my lovely and amazing editor, is trying to get me in trouble with Pirates Twitter. So, Mark, I see you, good sir. Yeah, I respect it.
Yeah. The goal specifically was to get you in trouble here. We're not going to fall. Only I'm going to fall for it. Only I'm going to fall for it.
Thank you for that, Adam. And by the way, Andrew, I saw your question asking for Padres news. There is no Padres news. I don't know if they're discussing Vlad Jr. or not. I'm sure they are.
I heard they're the only team not. They're the only team not discussing Vlad Jr.
Oh, you're gonna have Padres Twitter coming after you now.
What I heard.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I'm saying it with my chest right now. Obviously, a burner. It's goodness me. But yeah, Andrew, no Padres news, and hello. And hello. I wanted to make sure I said hi because I saw you say hey before.
Of course. And that answers the Padres question earlier in the chat, as well as, where if they might be interested in a bat. Dennis Lane's reporting where would the bat fit in the lineup. I think no movement right now. We will keep an eye on Padres news and rumors as it pertains to future episodes of the show. Of course, we're going to be all over it. The Padres, NLS competitors, the Dodgers, series of the week, series of the year. I don't know. Dodgers-Yankees was pretty exciting. It was kind of an odd timing because Juan Soto goes down with some forearm inflammation on Thursday. X-rays, scans, MRIs, all that looks clean. But obviously, why would you push Juan Soto when the Yankees are 45-19? They did not push Juan Soto. He did not play in this series. Yankees dropped the first two, looking offensively feeble in both, before Trent Grisham, who... Padres, that could have been another big bat. You could still have Trent Grisham, but the Yankees took on his salary instead, hit a big old 3-run home run in the finale. Yankees salvage one in what kind of felt, I've been calling it the FA Cup in soccer, where it's just like a random tournament in the middle of the season that doesn't really mean anything, but people also get jacked up for it. That's what it felt like. Hey, does it matter who won the Dodgers-Yankees series in June without Juan Soto? No. Would I have been bragging if the Yankees had won the series? Obviously. But it was pretty fun. Did expose some weaknesses for the New York Yankees. Despite that nice finale, it was a game where Anthony Rizzo didn't play. Not coincidentally benched for the finale. DJ LeMahieu slides over. He wasn't very good in the series either. Those two spots on the lineup, along with Gleyber Torres on defense, definitely exposed. This is a Yankees team that has raced out to the front of the American League. We know they're going to need bullpen pieces at the deadline. That is no surprise. But they're going to have a tough call to make at several infield spots next month as well. I am curious if you thought watching this series, okay, the Yankees actually do need to make a move for offensive upgrades sooner rather than later. And if that's something that you think they're going to have to reckon with in the coming weeks.
I do think that's going to be in the case. And between adding some more offensive thump and then also upgrading the bullpen, I think their two needs for the deadline are very clear. But I also think one of the things that became really clear, and I think John Heyman made a really good point of this, friend of the program, John Heyman, by the way, there's a nice little tease. I think it became pretty clear that the Yankees need Juan Soto, and extending him should be the priority in the offseason, because I can't imagine an extension is going to get done during the season. That's not how Boras operates. That's not how Juan Soto operates. Clearly, he turned down $400+ million with none of it deferred from the Nationals a couple of years ago. So clearly, he has had his eyes on free agency and that big payday for a very long time. And I can't imagine he's going to end up sacrificing that only a few months away from free agency. So it's going to be an offseason thing. And to me, it's got to be the Yankees' top priority. But for now, I do think adding some offensive thump would make a lot of sense. I think upgrading the bullpen and adding a piece or two would make a lot of sense. But I'm curious, Adam, like on your end, what do you think, at least from an offensive perspective, should be the top priority here?
Well, so this is tough because we have a good comment that's like, hey, from Ryan, would they consider trying to move Stanton to clear money and get Dominguez a spot? I think they would consider it. I don't think anyone is even coming close to helping them clear enough money to do that. So if somebody stepped up and was like, you can clear the Stanton money tomorrow, or even 75% of the Stanton money, I don't think they would bat an eye. But right now, I don't think they're getting an offer over like 5% of the total. It's not happening. Nobody's willing to help the Yankees there. So Stanton, good for him having a bit of a resurgent season. I think they're still going to have to eat that money as soon as the offseason. But mid-season, very unlikely. And he's still contributing. But Dominguez, man, you got to find room for him. And unfortunately, I don't have the solution there. But how about I still think Rizzo is going to get de-emphasized in the second half, but will not leave the roster and will still start a couple of times a week. LeMahieu's going to slide into his place sometimes. They're going to need a more permanent third base solution as well. I think LeMahieu is sort of a utility man bench player at this point in his career. Well, there's an Anaheim Angel controlled through this year and next year, 27-year-old switch hitting infielder who covers multiple positions. Remember last year when everybody was like, has anybody noticed what Heimer Candelaria is doing on the Nationals? And then we all sort of agreed, oh, that's a trade deadline name everyone needs to pay attention to. Luis Rengifo, 316,
awesome.
316, 130 OPS plus. Big numbers on an Angels team going nowhere, and they could goad some team into an overpay. And I feel like if the Yankees don't see any improvement from the internal options, they could be the team to make that slight overpay. They've got pitching. And they've got Rule 5 eligible pitching. Will Warren leads that list. Will Warren and two other pieces. Benjamin Cowles, a power hitting infield option who's also Rule 5 eligible. I'd say 2 Rule 5 eligible guys and a lottery ticket for Rengifo and maybe a reliever.
I like it. I like it a lot. By the way, when you said Angels infielder and controllable, I thought you were talking Anthony Rendon at first.
I thought you meant Zach Neto. No, the Yankees will not take on Anthony Rendon's money. No. They are not attaching an iceberg to their Titanic. Not going to happen.
No, I totally agree. I think it's a great fit and a good shot by you. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And clearly, like the Angels, they're open for business. I mean, they've had different teams, and they're open to discussing guys like Taylor Ward. They're open to talking about guys like Estevez. They're open to talking about certain different guys here. And I gotta imagine Luis Rengifo is going to end up being someone that they're open to discussing. I know he's been really good this year, and Artie Moreno is not a guy who typically likes to sell, but you can really sell high on him right now and get a pretty good haul in return. So I think it's something they should absolutely consider. And the Yankees make a whole lot of sense. And if the offer is right, I think they should absolutely facilitate a deal because it makes all the sense in the world here.
Yeah, the Yankees have somehow made it through the whole season, a season that's been good, where the starting pitching has been excellent. Back end of the bullpen has carried a good amount of weight. Aaron Judge has been an MVP. Juan Soto has been an MVP. The bench has still just been sort of random.
I gotta go. I'll call this person back in a second. We're almost done with the show here.
Let's go ahead and sign off. I mean, yeah, we're donezo. But anyway, Jahmai Jones is still on the Yankees bench. That's not going to last through the deadline. Sorry to Jahmai Jones. Shout out to everybody joining us today. We love each and every one of you. We will see you again with the both of us at the 2 weeks from today, 2 Mondays from now. I'll be back. Does anybody know where I'm going to be, though? It's weird. I haven't mentioned it yet. But Robert will be here in the interim, obviously dominating and giving you the information that you so desire with some hopefully very special guests along the way. Robert, I'll let you sign off, let you call your folks here. See everybody right back here Thursday, 3:30 Eastern, and you're going to have some good nuggets.
I will have some very good nuggets. Very special guest on Thursday. Someone who, if it all pans out, means the world to me. That should be a pretty good hint for people who know my background. Adam, have a blast in Italy. You're going to have an absolute ball. It's going to be freaking cool. See everyone on Thursday. Well, I'll see everyone on Thursday with a special guest. Adam, we'll see you in a week and a half. And take care, everybody. I got a phone call to make because I don't know what exactly this is. So let's get weird.
Let's get deeply strange. See everybody when we get back. Robert will be right back here Thursday, 3:30. Set your alarms. It'll be a good one. Take care.